Hey guys, Kimmy Vapes here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Drop Solo, which is a Vapor Chronicles creation manufactured by DigiFlavor. Let's have a vape, go down below and see what comes with it. Okay, and here is the Drop Solo. Now the packaging that I received is reviewer sample packaging. This is just DigiFlavor's basic packaging. None of this really has any information related to the Drop Solo, so we're just going to go ahead and open up the box and take a look at the RDA. So it is my understanding, I went to DigiFlavor's website, and the packaging that this will come in, actually the box is going to have a cutout window where you'll be able to see the RDA and the PMMA top cap as well. But here is what I received. We have the Drop Solo in stainless steel with a frosted drip tip there. And we also have the PMA cap, which does have Solo on one side and Drop on the other. It's going to have the drip tip, the airflow control, the center barrel, and this 24mm beauty ring. Putting that to the side, you're going to have two accessory bags. One is going to contain 2 coils. On the website it says these are 0.35 ohm coils, but it does not list the coil material, and an Allen wrench. And then in the second bag, you're going to have both silicone O-rings and black rubber O-rings, a tri-tool, a 510 drip tip adapter, and also your squonk pin. The pin that I currently have installed in the Drop Solo is the squonk pin, so this is my regular studded 510 pin, which is a flathead 510 pin. And then the squonk pin here, as you can see, you can both use either a Phillips or a flathead screwdriver, and that is closed so that your pin will make a solid connection and there won't be any leaking. Okay, so the Drop Solo measures 22mm in diameter. Here is the bottom where it says Drop Solo DigiFlavor, designed by the Vapor Chronicles. Turn it to the side here, you'll see that it has 4 top airflow holes in this T shape, and then 6 airflow holes underneath that in 2 rows of 3. It says Solo on one side and Drop on the other. You have your airflow adjustment, which is just like the original Drop, which is step, so you'll be able to adjust your airflow here. And then, of course, your frosted drip tip. Let's go ahead and screw this down on a mod. So just like the original Drop, you have this stepped notch, which will allow your top cap to perfectly align the airflow in front of the coil, centered to go between those posts. And of course, it is dual airflow. Whatever you do to one side, it will do to the other. Different from the original Drop RDA, obviously, is that this is just 2 posts compared to the dual coil design of the original Drop RDA. But there are also a lot of small differences between the Drop Solo and the Drop RDA, which I'll show you. So first, of course, let's go ahead and grab the original Drop RDA so I can show you some of the differences. So obviously one of the biggest differences is going to be the size, this being a 22mm and the original Drop RDA being a 24mm. You still have that T-shaped airflow that we liked so much on the original Drop RDA. However, the holes are smaller and different in shape. Also, the top row here is angled down to hit your coil, while the 6 holes below do still go straight on to the coil. And also, you'll notice a little bit of difference here in the top cap on your airflow adjustment. They have added this step up design with these little bevels that go all the way around the cap, to where the original Drop RDA just had the cuts put in there on the top cap. So taking off the top cap of the original Drop RDA, we can compare the deck. As you can see, the Drop 22mm is an all stainless steel build deck, to where the original Drop was a gold plated build deck, and of course you have 4 post design there. And looking at the actual posts themselves, they look pretty similar, but there have been some changes made. In the Drop Solo, you can see that the actual opening of the holes has changed. Instead of being a square 2 by 2 diameter, this one is still 2 in width, but it looks like they have actually made the depth of the holes a lot larger so as that you can fit even bigger, beefier builds in there. Also, there is a cutout inside there so as that you can easily put round wire builds and trap your leads with no trouble. Being that this is a single coil RDA, I would expect nothing less, since we want to be sure that it can accommodate large builds but also still utilize those round wire coil builds that many people like to use in single coil RDAs. So of course I do already have a build on this here, and just to show you the way that I put my leads in, and this is the way that I prefer to do my horizontal coil in the Drop Solo, and I like to put my leads in from underneath. One of the reasons being that I find that it shortens my leg length so as that I have less length on the legs of my coil, and also I can drop my coil much lower by building it from underneath, which is really simple to do. All I do is I bend my legs up and curve them so as that I can just slide the leads from the bottom going up, and then of course cut them from the top. And I have a really big beefy build in here. It's ohming out at about 0.25. This is an interlocked alien coil which I have in here, and I try to center it the best I can right over that squonk pin so that it's the coil is not closer to one side of the airflow than the other. And then I can go ahead and take a tool and lift my coil up so I can show you my squonk pin underneath. So it has that same raised squonk pin that we saw on the original Drop RDA, and what that allows is for when you're squonking, a little bit of e-liquid will sit down, and this juice well is 5 millimeters deep, so you have a really nice deep juice well, and the squonk pin sits up about 3 millimeters inside there, so whenever you squonk, a little bit of e-liquid is left in the juice well and allows for it coming up your wicks to your coil, and then you don't have to hold down your squonk bottle if it was flush. And of course on the post you have that classic ramp design down there on the bottom of the post that it acts as a guide for your leads, whether you're putting it in from the top or you're putting the coil in from the bottom. That ramp makes it really easy for your leads to travel either up through the holes or down through the holes. And of course we have dual O-rings on the bottom. Let's go ahead and put our top cap on so that you can see the airflow adjustment. So the way I've been using the Drop Solo with the metal stainless steel top cap is I like to have those 4 top airflow holes closed off, and I'm just using the 6 airflow holes below. You can, however, go ahead and close that off to 4, 2, 3, or even 1 airflow hole. And then of course if you keep turning it, it's going to open it back up, and this will create like an upside down L shape, and then you can fully open it. So with the metal top cap, your total height is going to be 24 millimeters. However, if you use the PMMA cap, let's go ahead and change that out. I'm going to go ahead and just lower my coil back down. So with the PMMA cap, you're actually only going to have 6 airflow holes instead of 10. So they got rid of the top airflow line, and that dropped the size down. This is only going to be 22.5 millimeters with the PMMA cap. And again, it has a notch for the deck, so it automatically lines up your airflow with your coil. And this does have adjustable airflow, so you can close it off 1 hole at a time so that you can have 5, 4, 3, 2, one, and then of course it completely closes off, and then you can open it back up, and you can actually do it so that there's only 3 holes in a straight line, or all 6 open. And with the PMA top cap also comes the extra drip tip, which this is a frosted drip tip as well. It is 810, just like the 810 drip tip that comes on the stainless steel. However, it is a taller drip tip. So it's nice that they do give you 2 drip tip options, and of course this is the PMMA has the silicone O-ring on the top airflow, and if you don't like seeing the black O-rings, that is why they also included those silicone O-rings, so that you can match your silicone O-rings with the PMMA. So the beauty ring serves 2 purposes. It can increase your footprint to 24 millimeters if you like that look more. And also what the PMMA beauty ring does is it kind of disguises that stainless steel bottom base so that it looks more like the whole unit itself is made of PMMA. The O-ring tension on the bottom base is really nice. It's not too stiff, not too loose. I find it very easy, even brand new out of the box. I was able to easily remove the top cap, but I could also pick it up and shake the mod. Now the O-rings on the top are much stiffer, and of course those require a little bit of lubrication to kind of ease it up and make it a little easier to adjust your airflow. The Drop Solo RDA is going to come in 3 color choices. You have gold, which will come with an Ultim cap, and then you have the stainless steel, which I have here, which comes with the frosted PMMA and the stainless steel barrel, and then you have a black option, which comes with the black stainless steel cap or a black frosted PMMA cap. So let's go ahead and wick this up, and since I have the squonk pin installed, we'll go ahead and change this over to a squonk mod, and I'll show you how it squonks. The cotton that I'm going to be using is the cotton threads, and I just cut my wicks so that they just nice and gently rest on the bottom of the juice well. I don't want too much cotton down in there, but I do want to make sure that the ends of my cotton is touching the bottom of the juice well, and that it's not blocking the squonk pin. The e-liquid that I have in my squonk bottle and that I'll be using is the Hit That Cookie Macadamia. Okay, so I've screwed the Drop Solo down onto the Omboy OC Desire Design Tech Raid Squonk mod, and let's go ahead and give it a squonk. So one of the biggest concerns with RDAs and squonking is, will the e-liquid come out of the airflow hole? So I'm going to take the airflow adjustment off and let you see me fill this up. So I'm going to go ahead and squonk it all the way up to the coil, and then release. And I can completely saturate the entire coil and the wicks, and the e-liquid will come back down. Now mind you, this deck, because the wicks are already saturated, there is going to be e-liquid down in the deck. But as far as squonking goes, it's not going to leak on you just squonking it. The e-liquid will come up above the airflow holes, but then it will go back down. And because of the small size of the airflow holes, none of the e-liquid really leaks out of the airflow. Just be mindful that if you over squonk or you squonk when your wicks are already fully saturated, you will have some e-liquid remaining down in the juice well because of that squonk pin being raised, and then tipping it, you could possibly leak. Now, usually if you're just tipping it to vape, you're not going to have any e-liquid because those holes are so small. It'll create a tension and you'll see e-liquid in the holes, but it's not going to pour out of those holes. So I do have e-liquid down in the well, and it's not really leaking out, though I can see the e-liquid on those holes, but not coming out. And of course, when I inhale and take a puff off of the atomizer, it's going to suck that e-liquid back into the juice well and away from my airflow holes. Go ahead and put my airflow control ring on. Set my airflow for the way that I like it. And that is the Drop Solo RDA by the Vapor Chronicles and DigiFlavor. Let's go back up top, have a vape on it, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. All right, that was the up and close look at the Drop Solo. So what are my thoughts? Well, let's go over the pros first, and I'm gonna have a lot of pros for this. So anybody that has the Drop RDA, the original one that was done by Brian, the Vapor Chronicles, I'll link to his YouTube so you can go check that out. Also, be sure to check out his video where he goes into explaining where the idea for the Drop Solo came from and how he went about designing it. I think it's really important to hear from the creator themselves as well as the reviewers and how they feel using the product. So again, this is all just my opinion. So into the pros, of course, the first pro is going to be the machining quality. Everything on this RDA is machined really well. The O-ring tolerances, in my opinion, are really nice. I find the tolerance on the airflow adjustment to be a little tight, but it is definitely workable. Anytime I'm looking at O-ring tolerances, I rather them be on the tighter side than the looser side. So once you've applied some e-liquid and lubricated those O-rings, I find all of the O-ring tolerances to be really good. Next, of course, is going to be the accessories and the addition of the PMMA cap if you get the stainless steel or the black, and then of course the Ultim cap, which also shortens the RDA, which further increases the flavor of this RDA. So the accessories, the addition of that top cap, the drip tip, all of those things are big pros in my book. Next, let's talk about the build deck of the Drop Solo. So of course, if you use the Drop RDA, you know of the drop-in style posts that were on the original Drop RDA. One of the things with the original Drop RDA is that although you could use a single coil in it, you still had that massive chamber inside and all of that deck space. So the flavor wasn't the best in single coil mode. It was enjoyable, but it really wasn't meant to be a single coil RDA. The Drop Solo now is meant to be a single coil RDA and is only 22 millimeters, which allows to reduce that chamber, further reducing the chamber if you use the PMMA cap or the Ultim cap. So you get a huge bump in flavor with the Drop Solo post style, but you also get versatility. The fact that you can build both horizontal single coil, or if you really wanted to, you could put a dual coil in this RDA, even though that's not really what it's designed for. Also, you can raise your coil higher or lower to your preference. You can use basic round wire builds in this RDA or use really thick beefy coils in this RDA, which I currently have running an interlocked Alien, which is really big and fits easily into those post holes. Just like the original Drop RDA, this one is a builder's dream. It allows a lot of versatility in single coil building or dual coil. Another thing that I found out from Jay Hayes, he posted a picture, is that he built a dual coil sleeper build, which is really creative and I thought really awesome that he was able to put 2 vertical coils using a sleeper build. So that's an option as well. So if you're somebody that likes a lot of versatility in your RDAs and you like to be able to change up your builds and try out different build styles and be really creative with building, this is a really nice build deck for that. Also, though, it is not overwhelming for a new RDA user. If you're just getting into rebuildables and you want something that's super easy to build on, the Drop Solo is just that, just like the original Drop RDA. It's really easy to just drop your coil in, clip the leads, and you're ready to go. Next, let's go into the airflow. The airflow is nice and smooth, and not only is it nice and smooth, it's smooth all the way from having it wide open to down to one single airflow, and it has that same stepped airflow design like the original drop RDA. Now, if you've been a subscriber of my channel for a while, then you know that I love the drop RDA. I still use it every single day in my rotation. I own 3 of them, and I use them so much that I need all 3 of them because I just love the vape that I get on a dual coil in the drop RDA. This is no different in single coil mode for me, just because it is so easy to build and the airflow is so smooth. So let me go ahead. I currently have it in my most used configuration, which is with the top 4 holes cut off and just this 6-pack open. Really smooth, lots of vapor, not really restricted with the 6 airflow holes. Now, if you go ahead and do it wide open, let me go ahead and do that for you. There's no restriction whatsoever with it wide open. Lots of airflow, lots of cloud protection. Now, you do go down in flavor. I find personally, when I have all 10 holes open, I lose some of the flavor. So for me, I like to have 6 holes open or just 4 holes. That's another spot that I really enjoy when I'm running a less hot build. If I've got a more simpler build in here, I tend to just have those bottom 4 holes open. And that gives me a really nice restricted direct lung vape that's still really smooth. Closing it down to just 2 holes. Really restricted direct lung. Now, keep in mind, because I have a really hot build in here, it's not as enjoyable for me to have it with only 2 holes open, just because the build in here needs a lot of airflow. It is quite the low build for a single coil RDA, but if you're somebody that likes a nice hot vape and a single coil, you can definitely do this on this RDA. And of course, because it is stainless steel, because the cap that I'm using is stainless steel, when you're running a really hot build in here, the cap will heat up. However, it doesn't heat up so much that I can't touch it or anything like that. The next pro is going to be the same as that I had for the drop RDA, and is that the cap and the base are notched so as that your airflow is always locked in place, and also it makes it really easy for you to remove the RDA off of your mod because your barrel won't keep spinning. The next pro I have for this RDA is going to be the inclusion of the PMA or Ultim cap that you have as well. The fact that they give you that and the cost of the RDA is still the same price that the drop RDA was is really awesome. And also it allows you to change the look of your RDA, and it gives a slight improvement to the flavor. I find that because it's a little shorter and because you only have those 6 airflow holes and you can cut those down as well, just like with the regular metal top cap, it really does make it look higher end than what it really is. Now, I will say that because this is a single coil RDA, I have to compare it to other single coil RDAs out there. Now, I don't have every single coil RDA out there. Actually, I don't have many that are higher priced range. Most of mine are in the $30 to $35 range. So that's what I'm going to compare it to. Now, there is a cheaper one, which is called the Wasp Nano, that I feel is kind of the one that I wanted to see. Does this one beat it out? And I don't really feel that it beats it out on flavor the way that it does, but because of all of the extra pros that the Wasp Nano doesn't have, this one is definitely my go-to single coil RDA over the Wasp. While the Wasp is even more smaller, even more condensed, and a complete flavor chasing addy, it has no room for versatility to where the drop solo is everything when it comes to versatility. So this RDA, I think, is still a really good flavor RDA. While you can find other RDAs with better flavor, for me personally, this one does really great job at delivering the flavor that I want. Now let's talk about cons. So these are going to be really subjective because for me personally, I didn't really find any cons with this RDA. But I know not everybody vapes like me, and there are going to be some other people that might see some of these things as con. So the first con that I have is the drip tip selection that they offered. Brian offered his original longer 810 drip tip that he offered with his drop RDA. And the reason for that is because that one he believes delivers the most flavor for his atomizers, and he's a really big fan of it. I do like that drip tip, though it is longer and a little less sexy looking. It's kind of ugly and looks a little out of place on the RDA. It does do what Brian has said, and that is that it helps concentrate that flavor. Now, the drip tip that comes installed in it, I'm a really big fan of. I like it. It's got that curve in it, which makes my lips sit very nicely on the drip tip. I've always found drip tips of this shape very comfortable. I like that it's a more reduced bore on the 810 than other drip tips. So for me, it's a pro, but for some people, they may find that as a con. The only other subjective con I have here for people that other people might see is a con is in squonking mode. You do have that raised squonk pin. Some people may not like that because that means there is going to be e-liquid sitting down in that juice well. And if your cotton isn't dry, it's just going to sit there stagnant and may increase the possibility of it leaking out of your airflow holes. For me, because the coil sits up so high and the wicks are so long, I like that that squonk pin is raised because I can just push in the squonk bottle once, let go immediately, and that extra e-liquid is going to be drawn up my wicks to my coil, and I don't have to sit there and hold my squonk bottle. But it's one of those subjective cons. Some people don't like a raised squonking pin. I personally, I like it. For me, it's a pro. And that's really the only things that I have to say about the RDA as far as pros and cons. I do have one other con, and that's more with DigiFlavor and the coils that they included. While it was a really big pro that they included coils for the RDA, I didn't like that they don't specify the type of metal used. I'm assuming the metal they used is Kanthal or maybe stainless steel, but because I went on their website and I looked on the packaging and I could not find, I'm not really sure. Is it Kanthal, stainless steel, nichrome? And I think that's something really important that companies should do when they include coils, also include what type of metal they are. So that's my thoughts on the Drop Solo. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this review, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, click that subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, don't forget to hit the little bell icon so you get notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks again, guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.